Let's have a look at some business news then. And Asian stocks have really been sinking into the red following a healthy start to the week yesterday. Sentiment's been jolted by the prospect that Joe Biden's huge stimulus plan could be watered down and may not be passed for several weeks. Large infection rates are also worrying investors. You can see down across the board, the biggest drop there on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong. Now, COVID-19 has already increased, of course, the gap between rich and poor across the world. But now all eyes are on the rollout of vaccines and who gets what and when. A fair share of it, not just an ethical, but also an important economic choice, according to a new report. Ms. Claire Rush has more. The International Chamber of Commerce estimates that a failure to share properly could cost the global economy up to $9 trillion.
As wealthy countries distribute millions of doses of the coronavirus vaccine, thanks to advance purchase agreements, many developing countries, unable to place similar bids, have yet to administer a single shot. An inequitable distribution that could end up costing the global economy up to $9.2 trillion. Half of those costs would be absorbed by wealthy countries, according to the International Chamber of Commerce.
If you look at all the stimulus packages running around, if you want to ensure there's durable impact, you've got to make certain those supply chains are operating and the economies are operating in developed countries, which at the moment are out of the reach of access to the vaccine. Otherwise, you have a direct line back, not to Wall Street or to the CAC 40, it actually goes straight to the Main Street.
With global trade dependent on the shipment of parts, prolonged coronavirus restrictions could disrupt supply chains, making it more difficult for companies and wealthy nations to acquire parts. If the pandemic continues unchecked in developing countries, resulting in further job losses, that could in turn mean less demand, less purchasing power, less consumption, and therefore fewer sales for exporters in developed countries. An argument that could sway wealthier nations, says the ICC.
What they've got now and what we provided them is actually the economic logic which they can use to make the case in their own domestic economies as to why this is money not given away in charity, but this is money investing in the future of the economies and getting people's livelihoods back.
A global initiative to finance the equitable distribution of vaccines, known as the ACT Accelerator, is currently facing a $27 billion funding gap. But if wealthy countries do invest this amount, the ICC says it could generate returns as high as 166 times the initial investment.